A pillar of fire at night and confused Russian troops. It has some asking, are Ukrainians receiving heavenly help?
There's some miracle happened. It looked like some spaceship, like there was like an attack from the spaceship. There was some kind of a lightnings was starting shooting from the sky, and like sparks were like spreading everywhere. And then on the morning they've discovered that the whole machinery was destroyed.
We knew the world would not be the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent. I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita, takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
For those who haven't heard, a few weeks ago, something supposedly miraculous happened. During a night battle with the Russians, Ukrainian soldiers reported a beam of light coming out of the sky, which, during the day, they realized had destroyed all of the tanks and weapons. And people were very quick to label this as an act of God. But is it necessarily? Do I believe that God has the capability to do these types of things? Of course. But I think we should be discerning about the nature of these events. Given the nature of the government and how they operate, there are probably dozens, if not hundreds, of different types of weapons that haven't been disclosed to the public. And we can't jump to conclusions and label these things as divine intervention just because they happen and we don't necessarily understand them at the time. Russia even being implicated in the energy weapon use in the notorious Havana syndrome, which is affecting diplomats overseas on assignment. They believe they're using some sort of energy weapon to sicken and injure and cause brain injuries to these diplomats. I just made a video about this, and I'll leave a link in the description, and you can click here if you want to watch it now. But take a look now at how the government releases these things and how they're talking about these weapons now. The nature of warfare is going to change drastically. There are weapons that we can't even conceive of. There are things that they know about that they do not tell the public. And then other times, some of these things leak, and they show them in technological presentations. And even though they don't show us everything, these little bits, these clips, give us a little glimpse of what's behind the curtain.
U.S. officials are confirming today, and you've heard this as well, that Russia is now using these hypersonic missiles. These are weapons that travel at Mach 5.
But Putin is not worried about that. By using hypersonic missiles like this, he is escalating the war in Ukraine.
The U.S. Air Force envisions placing laser weapon systems on fighter jets by the mid-2022s. The service is working on its own laser weapon, SHIELD, a pod-mounted laser that will protect fighters from incoming missiles. Mounted on the fuselage or wing of a fighter jet, TALWS could shoot down incoming air-to-air and surface-to-air missiles. Lockheed Martin is working on a separate weapon, Tactical Airborne Laser Weapon System, TALWS, will use program data from SHIELD.
The Prime Minister has demanded answers from Beijing after a Chinese Navy ship fired a laser at an Australian aircraft.
I can see it no other way than an act of intimidation, one that is unprovoked, unwarranted.
The People's Liberation Navy vessel used their laser to target a P-8A Poseidon plane inside Australia's exclusive economic zone.
Ukrainian forces are putting up a strong fight against Russian troops on the ground, but U.S. officials warn Moscow may take drastic new measures to try to win the war. That, they say, could include expanding the conflict to space. Russia is refusing to launch 36 satellites for a London-based company unless it guarantees they will not use them for military missions.
We probably have $1 trillion worth of assets in space at any given time. Those satellites support our economy. Satellites support the synchronization of our banking system, our navigation, how we understand our world.
Most drastically, missiles shot from Earth with the intent to destroy, a capability demonstrated just last November when Russia blew up one of its own satellites. Already, there are potential signs of such activity after satellite operator Viasat's service in Ukraine and other parts of Europe was interrupted recently, an episode the company says it's investigating as a cyber event.
If Russia, though, actually escalates its actions into space and we see more severe attacks, then I think we will see really a doubling down of investments in the space domain.
Now to the breaking news out of California, where firefighters are battling hundreds of new wildfires. The fast-moving flames forcing entire towns to evacuate, and now the fires have turned deadly.
This morning, fear and devastation across California.
We've been through a lot of fires in this area. Nothing like this.
It was. Officials say Thursday that multiple wildfires have now burned into each other, creating massive spans of flames called complexes.
More than 600 in just over a week, including 2 of the largest in the state's history. At least 7 people have died and more than 1 million acres have burned.